Right, so I guess this is going to be part 2 of those old tubes. So we're going to go through a few more of these, another couple, and then we'll get into some of the bigger ones I have there, octal type tubes, and bigger again. So yeah, last video you seemed to enjoy it, so let's pick out a few more here and have at it. Okay, so we'll go with a Mullard CV449, British made, and according to, it says the CV449 is a small special quality voltage stabilizer. The striking voltage is 115 volts and the maintaining voltage is 85 volts. For a tube current variation of 1 milliamp to 10 milliamp, the voltage regulation is 4 volts. This valve would have been used to directly stabilize the voltage for an oscillator or be employed as a voltage reference for a stabilized supply. In a later case, the tube would be operated at a constant current. See Mullard 85A2 for commercial version. The thin glass tube envelope is 17 millimeters in diameter, and excluding the B7G base pins is 46 millimeters long. You can't really see into this tube. It's quite dark, as you can see. Interesting little tube. It's a voltage regulator. So we have another tube here, the CV140. Looks like it's Brimer, possibly. Or RRIMAR. Brimer, maybe. BRIMAR or RRIMAR. I'd say it's more BRIMAR. Anyways, made in England, CV140. And it says the CV140 is a double signal diode. Commercially, this was a 6AL5. The valve the UK government CV specification was based upon. The two valves are completely separate flat surfaces separated by a plate screen. This clearly shows the signal usage, where it is important to keep RF isolation. Muller designed these diodes for vision and sound detection. The diodes are separated by a central screen. The thin glass tube envelope is 18 millimeters in diameter, and excluding the B7G base pins is 47 millimeters tall. Rare data sheet and 1040 type CV140 was first introduced in 1946. This tube was first introduced in 1946, and it's interesting that it's the commercial version of the 6AL5. And you can see the separation there of the two plates. Interesting little tube, interesting construction. Cool. Okay folks, what we have here now is a General Electric 5670 Electron tube. You can just barely make out the General Electric logo here. And you can clearly see on this side 5670 USA. And there's a bit of a web page wrote up about this tube. And apparently tube audio fanatics love this tube. Seems to be fairly sought after. There's a whole website here. There's a website here. It's called Tech Notes, History of the GE 5670 tube. The 5670 Electron valve, it matters. The website for this tube is right here. I'll just I'll put the camera down, so I'll let you look right at the tube. I'll try to aim the camera up so you're looking right at it. Put this underneath the camera, if I can get it there. Really high enough. There we go. This should work. Alright. So what I'm going to read you here is on this tube alone. And I'm going to just skim through this. It says, the 5670 Electron valve, it matters. Every audio nano likes some electron valves for a number of reasons. The two most obvious ones are their influence on the sound itself and highly appealing aesthetics. Some of you might dislike the look of glowing glass, and since this matter is highly a subjective one. We won't focus on it. The rest, though, well, that's a completely different story. Our latest headphone amplifier, the Pro iCan, is loaded with a pair of GE 5670 Jan double triodes. Okay, there's a ton of valves out there. Therefore, this question is in order. Why did we use this one specific type from this specific manufacturer? That's a story to be told. Here we go then. Behold the WE396A double triode by Western Electric. These small critters were introduced in 1946 and shortly replaced by their 6922 variants. The former is the pinnacle, almost unfindable these days. The scenario isn't that grim when it comes to the latter type. But as it turns out, there is one sonically as good model and made very strict specifications, the GE Jan 5670 NOS type. It was under the radar of audiophile scopes for many years. GE stands for General Electric, the manufacturer, which is self-explanatory. Said company was responsible for electron valves production for decades and is well known for the quality it produces. Quality of its products, I should say. Moving on, JAN is a service branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, and said three letters stand for Joint Army and Navy. Electron valves marked as JAN were made for the Army, Navy, and Air Force, had to have their own, naturally, and had to pass the most rigorous testing procedure at that time. The Russian parallel system was OTK, or Technical Control Department. Even the Russian system was very decent, as one does not wish for Mach 3 jet fighters at 100 million rubles a pop to be falling out of the sky on account of poor electron valves. This translated into modern money would be 350 million US dollars, the same as the F-22 Raptor today. And yes, it used electron valves for a lot of critical electronics. Skim through this. They saw wide military equipment use, including fire control computers and communication systems. So before the late 80s, in U.S. military and NATO stockpiled most of the production. Production of the 5670 ended in the 1980s, almost completely. So stockpiles were retained until the equipment they supported was removed from inventory in the later part of the 1990s. Third, the addition of the 5670 uses non-standard pinout. If one looks at the 12AX7, the 12AU7, or the 6DJ8 6922, all these have an identical or very similar pinout. The 5670 pinout is radically different. Electrically and in terms of internal design, is very similar to the 6DJ8 6922, which became popular in American high-end audio gear, but one can't plug it into a 6922 socket. Well, physically, it's doable. Mechanically, the 5670 will plug into the 6922 socket, yet the result may be deadly for the preamplifier as heater and anode pins are mixed up, shorting out the high voltage power supply. Just don't go there. Now let's add a price factor to the mix. Military parts always cost at least 10 more in comparison to identical civilian parts, which for the 5670 model meant that no one designed audio gear with these electron valves during the golden age of valve audio. After the military blew out these stocks from their warehouses when the Cold War ended, these cavernous places, like the one shown in the photo here on the website here, says that the cavernous places like the one shown at the end of the Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. You get a photo here on the website. Still, very few people use them, as they couldn't be plugged into existing gear due to non-standard pinout. Long story short, NOS 6922 became very popular, and their rear cousins worth hundreds of dollars with no one wanting the 5670. For the last 25 years plus, dealers and audiophiles have been depleting very limited 6922 NOS stocks, or new old stocks. And that's why today it is next to impossible to find decent electron valves of this sort. And what about the unloved but excellent 5670? It's set nice and snug in warehouses like the proverbial Ark of the Covenant, waiting for someone to discover it. That would be first of all Eric Barber of Vacuum Tube Belly magazine, but his article wasn't also widely ignored, and then us. It says 5670 valves become somewhat popular when Shanling made CD players and electron valve amps years back, which used a Chinese 6N3, a Chinese copy of the Soviet 6N3P, often incorrectly written as 6H3PI, which was a Soviet version of the 5670. As few people knew about the possibility to swap the 5670 for a 6N3, the good stuff mostly remained in storage. Bit long-winded, isn't it, boys? Needless to say, now the 5670 cat is out of the bag as a workable new old stock 6922 substitute. AMR/IFI audio have bunkered the content of one of these military warehouses for future use, with emitter and correct socket wiring or an adapter. They will be hunted to extinction within the next few years by all electron valve hounds of audiophilia. Grab them while you can. So there you have it. GE Jan 5670 new old stock is a marvelous piece of glass built to last. 100,000 hours of lifespan are easily possible if electron valves operated conservatively. With marvelous sound quality, the very best among what's currently available for the money. Yes, you can go even higher, but it's not just an expensive journey to be had. Money is the smallest issue, actually. The main problem is in availability and the origin of the various Western Electric and Bendant 6N3 equivalents. Yes, counterfeits are out there. You've been warned. So there's a little bit more information here on the website. Basically goes on, glass going on record. Makers of 5670, 2C51, ECC40 on record. We're not going to do a sonic ranking between the valves in each category. Way too subjective. Again, this is all coming off the website. You can read more about it. I'll try to put a link on the in the description of the video here. Let's skim through a little bit more. The 5670 2C51 has similar data and application as the later European EC88 variants. So European valve makers concentrated on that type of valve. Some valves marked England have been cited. These appear mostly remarked Russian units. Slovenia also made a 5670, which was also seen remarked as Mullard, but isn't a true Mullard, as they never made this version of valve, just a rebranding job. A couple little notes they got here on the website. Some background. The 5670/2C51, from a technological point of view, the premium version of the 6922 electron valve. Better design, strong plates, lower microphonics, etc., etc. So if you have the 6922, you can roll the valves in your own non-Wi-Fi device and get the better sonics. But with the 5670/2C51 family using adapters, you are already running with the big guns. Note 2, the 5670 and the 6922 have the same physical pins, but are not directly interchangeable as the different fundamental designs. The AMR CD/DP777 SE uses 6922 pinout and adapters to convert the 5670 to 6922 pinout. So both the 6922 and 5670 with adapter can be used. Moving on, one might think that if magnificent 5670 electron valves as we use in our product are quite available, then something's off, but that's not the case. As we've always said, this electron valve has flown under the radar for many years. 6922 and alike were much more popular, yet popularity isn't an indication of what's good. So again, this is on the website, so we'll just move over here. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of information about this particular electron tube. So that's the base styles, the 5670 and the 6922. So as you can see, there is a lot of differences between them. You got 5670, you got 2 plates, a grid, cathode, and heaters. The 6922, you have 2 plates, 2 grids, 2 cathodes, and you got the heaters. Different design. For the most part, it looks pretty close, but pin 1 for existence, for pin 1 and the 6922, as you can see, goes to plate 2, and on the 5670, plate pin 1 is actually part of the heater circuit. So you can see how these two tubes are not interchangeable. How indeed they would definitely short everything out. Not a good idea. And there's even little write-ups, you know. It's an interesting little website. And you can find all this information on www.audiocircle.com. So, there you go. 5670. Nice little tube with quite a bit of history behind it. And finally, anybody knows anything about tubes or not but they're familiar with this tube, and I have 3 of them here in front of you, is known as a 12AT7. Very popular audio tube. So there's a quick little write-up on it online here, on Wikipedia. 12AT7, also known in Europe by the Mullard-Phillips tube designation of ECC81, is a miniature 9-pin medium-gain dual triode vacuum tube popular in guitar amplifiers. It belongs to a large family of dual triode vacuum tubes which share the same pinout, including in particular the very commonly used low MU 12AU7 and high MU 12AX7. The 12AT7 has somewhat lower voltage gain than the 12AX7, but higher transconductance and plate current, which makes it suitable for high-frequency applications. Originally, the tube was intended for operation in VHF circuits, such as TV sets and FM tuners, as an oscillator frequency converter, but it also found wide use in audio as a driver and phase inverter and vacuum tube push-pull amplifier circuits. The tube is essentially 2 6AB4s or 2 EC92s in a single envelope. The tube has center tap filament, so it can be used in either 6.3 volt 300 milliamp or 12.6 volt 150 milliamp heater circuits. As of 2012, the 12AT7 was manufactured in Russia, Electro-Harmix brand, and Slovakia, JJ Electronic, and China. So as of 2012, you could still potentially buy these tubes. And as you would know, they're quite popular. And I actually built which I still have, an old regenerative receiver that I home built, and it's built around the 12AT7. So it's a very interesting tube. I'll just show you the pinout. There's the diagram of it, clearly showing the plates both plates, both grids, both cathodes, and heaters. So, very nice. Interesting tube. Anyway, folks, that's it for this box of tubes. I've got a lot of doubles and triples here. So if anybody needs a couple tubes, let me know. I got a few of them here. But thanks for watching. And now we'll get into the bigger tubes now very shortly. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Reno 63 out.